There's something nobody tells you about losing confidence. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. There's no single event you can point to and say that's when everything changed. Instead, it happens in the quiet, in the small, unremarkable moments you barely notice. It happens in the way you apologize when someone else bumps into you, in the way you rehearse a simple phone call 15 times before dialing, in the way you delete a text 3 times before finally deciding not to send it at all. Confidence doesn't shatter. It erodes, slowly, quietly, one tiny habit at a time. And the hardest part? Most of us don't even realize we're doing it. Today, we're going to talk about the small, almost invisible habits that chip away at your sense of self, not the obvious ones. Not the things you'd find in a self-help book. I'm talking about the subtle patterns that live in the background of your daily life. The ones that have become so normal you don't even question them anymore. This might be uncomfortable, and that's the point. Let's start with something you probably did today without even thinking about it. You checked. You checked to see if someone viewed your story. You checked to see if that message was read. You checked to see how many likes something got. And in that moment of checking, something small happened inside you. You handed over a tiny piece of your self-worth to a number, to a notification, to someone else's response. This is what psychologists call external validation dependency, and it's more damaging than it sounds. Every time you check, you're training your brain to believe that your value is determined by feedback, that you need evidence from the outside world to feel okay on the inside. Over time, this rewires your emotional system. You stop trusting your own judgment. You stop feeling confident unless someone else confirms that you should. And the cruelest part is that the reassurance never lasts. You check, you feel relief, and then 20 minutes later, you need to check again. The confidence you borrow from others has to be constantly renewed because it was never really yours to begin with. Now let's talk about something even more invisible. The way you speak to yourself when no one is listening. Not out loud, but in that constant internal monologue that runs through your mind from the moment you wake up. When you make a small mistake, what's the first thing you say to yourself? When you look in the mirror in the morning, what words form before you can stop them? Most people would never speak to a friend the way they speak to themselves, but because this dialogue is silent and private, we assume it doesn't count. It does. Your brain doesn't distinguish between words spoken aloud and words thought repeatedly. Every time you call yourself stupid, every time you tell yourself you're not good enough, you're laying down neural pathways. You're conditioning yourself to believe it. This is not just negative thinking. This is identity construction. You are literally building a version of yourself with every internal sentence. And if those sentences are harsh, critical, and unforgiving, that's the self you'll become. Here's another one that might sting a little. How often do you downplay your own achievements? Someone compliments your work and you immediately say, "Oh, it was nothing." You accomplished something meaningful. And before you can even feel proud, you're already minimizing it, telling yourself it wasn't that hard, that anyone could have done it, that it doesn't really count. This habit seems humble. It feels like you're just being realistic, but what you're actually doing is denying yourself the experience of success. You're telling your brain that your efforts don't matter, and when your brain stops associating your actions with positive outcomes, motivation dies. Confidence requires evidence, and if you keep dismissing the evidence, you'll eventually run out of reasons to believe in yourself. Let's go deeper. Think about the last time you wanted to do something but didn't because you were waiting until you felt ready, waiting until you were more prepared, waiting until the timing was right. Here's the uncomfortable truth. That waiting is not preparation. It's avoidance wearing a productive mask. And every time you wait, you reinforce a belief that you are not yet enough as you are. Psychologists call this the arrival fallacy, this idea that confidence will come after you reach some future milestone. But confidence doesn't work that way. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It's a byproduct of it. Now here's a habit that almost everyone does but rarely recognizes. Comparing your internal experience to someone else's external presentation. You know your own doubts, fears, and insecurities because you live inside them. But you only see other people's curated surface, their best angles, their highlight reels. And so you assume that the gap between how you feel and how they appear means something is wrong with you. This is a psychological distortion so common it barely registers anymore. But it fundamentally changes how you see yourself in relation to the world. It makes you feel like an outsider in your own life, like everyone else received a manual you never got. There's another quiet habit that does more damage than most. The habit of saying yes when you mean no, of agreeing to things you don't want to do because you're afraid of conflict or rejection. Every time you override your own boundaries, you send a message to yourself. You tell yourself that other people's comfort matters more than your own needs, that your preferences are not valid enough to voice. And slowly, you stop knowing what you even want because you've spent so long ignoring it. This is not just people-pleasing. This is self-erasure. And finally, let's talk about the most hidden habit of all. The habit of never finishing, starting projects but abandoning them, having ideas but never following through, telling yourself you'll get to it eventually. Every unfinished thing is a small broken promise to yourself. And over time, these broken promises accumulate. They teach you not to trust your own word. They make you hesitant to start anything new because deep down, you don't believe you'll see it through. Confidence isn't just about believing in your abilities. It's about believing in your reliability. About knowing that when you commit to something, you'll show up. So where does this leave you? If you recognized yourself in any of these patterns, that's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you've been paying attention to the wrong things. That somewhere along the way, you started measuring your worth by standards that were never designed to support you. The good news is that just as these habits eroded your confidence gradually, new habits can rebuild it the same way. Not through dramatic transformation, but through quiet, consistent change. Through speaking to yourself with more kindness. Through letting your yes mean yes and your no mean no. Through finishing what you start, even when it's imperfect. Through letting yourself feel proud without immediately looking for a reason to dismiss it. Confidence is not a trait some people have and others don't. It's a relationship you build with yourself, one small moment at a time. If this video made you pause, even for a second, I want you to sit with that. Don't just move on to the next thing. Let yourself feel whatever came up. That discomfort is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that something in you is ready to change. And if you want more videos like this, ones that go beyond the surface and explore what's really going on inside, subscribe, turn on notifications. I'll be here. But more importantly, be here for yourself, starting now.